I remember when I was approached back in high school by a friend, her name's Betsy. She approached me and she said, "Nabeel, do you know Jesus?" She wanted to share the gospel with me. My parents had taught me, Nabeel, anytime anyone tries to preach the gospel to you, well, that wasn't the words they used. They said, if anyone tries to share Christianity with you, you share Islam with them. And so she comes up to me, Betsy does, and she says, "Do you know Christ?" And I say, yeah, I do. I know that Jesus is virgin born. The Quran tells me so. I know that Jesus heals lepers and cures the dead and the deaf and the blind and can raise the dead. I know He's the Messiah. The Quran tells me all this. But I also know that Jesus is not God. Now don't get me wrong. The moment she shared her faith with me, my respect for her went through the roof. Because I knew what the gospel message was. The gospel message is, unless you accept Christ, you will go to hell. At least that's how I understood it at the time. It's a bit richer than that. But that's how I understood it. And so I knew that, hey, there are all these Christians. I see them going to church on Sundays. They believe that you have to accept the gospel or otherwise I will go to hell. Why aren't they sharing the gospel with me? See, truth matters. Truth does matter. And I constantly challenged people in the truth. And it wasn't until I met somebody in college that I had a fair response. This was my first year in college, 2001, Old Dominion University in Norfolk, Virginia. And I ran into a friend when we were at a public speaking and debate tournament. I was on the forensics team, and my whole team had come, and most of the team at this tournament had gone out. They went out because, you know, it was the night before, they were going to party, they went drinking, they went clubbing, some of them had brought drugs with them, so they all went out. My parents had taught me never to do anything like that, so I stayed back, and if the whole team went, fine, I'm staying by myself. But one other guy stayed behind. And so we decided to room together. We became friends. And his name was David. And as the night progressed, I saw him pull out a Bible. And I thought, all right, another opportunity to take down a Christian.
And the reason why he's doing it is because he doesn't feel confident in us as women to be able to have a logical conversation. We're very emotional. So instantly we hear second wife, and me included, our jealousy goes straight through the roof. We don't want to hear anything else you've got to say. Whereas he's sitting there with a logical mind. So then you've got two illogical minds, if you like, because I'm emotional and he's just like, look, it's from A to B, and I'm going, you know, well, what about C, D, E, and, you know, going round the circles, and that's where the problem comes. So he's thinking, rather than dealing with this headache, let me just go do what I want to do. And then that's where we have to take accountability as women. Like, we have to be accountable for our husbands having to lie to us because we can't have that logical conversation with them.
So it should be.
And I looked at the case for Islam, and, you know, here's the thing that I want to get across to you. We were told stories about Muhammad growing up, about how amazing he is, about how gracious he is, about how merciful he is, about how he's the best general, the best statesman, the best diplomat, the best father, the best husband. We were told all these stories, and that's why we had this love and passion for Islam. In the West, at least, that was our impetus for loving our faith and for saying Islam is a religion of peace. But when I started investigating the evidence, instead of just listening to stories, I said, what does history say? And I went to the earliest books written about Muhammad's life. And when you read those books, you find horrific things that you've never been told before. The stuff that ISIS knows, the stuff that Al-Qaeda knows, the Taliban, they know this stuff. We weren't taught this in the West. And I'm studying the evidence and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, is this my prophet?
Saying, okay, let me sit down and see how I can help my husband. How I can.
No, but
this is how Allah has made. No, but this is. Let me finish. Yeah, but hang on. Let me finish.
It's a valid desire.
This is. Hang on.
Let me
land.
Let's land.
Hang on. So this is about us trying to help them with their. This is something that Allah has ingrained into them. They can't help it. It's like being born with one hand. They can't help it. Exactly. So then we need to work together. And look, I'm the same. I'm going to say to you, like, I would not want my husband to have a second wife.
Okay, good.
But ingrained in them, so you're causing oppression.
That's not oppression.
No. 1 second.
No, but that's not oppression.
Guys, this
this is something that Allah has made in them. Why do you not understand that?
Guys, hello, sorry. Please.
Do you know
where you will be when your real life starts? And do you know the God who can infuse real life into this life? Let's pray. Death, where is your sting? My God raises the dead. He cleanses the lepers. He heals the blind. My God is able to overcome all evil. He brings life and life to the full. He took our infirmities and bore our diseases, says Matthew 8:16. By his stripes we are healed, says Isaiah 53. We have a God who loves us, who suffered for us, and you, God, we proclaim and we believe that you are our healer. There are brothers and sisters who are in this room suffering today, believing that they cannot be healed by what they have. And I just say that that is a lie. Our God is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ask or imagine. But can you imagine, from the perspective of a Muslim for just one moment, can you imagine the notion of God dying for someone? God who remains apart from this world as if behind a veil, that God who created this universe just by thinking it into existence, the God who is all-powerful, the creator of time and space, entered into it and suffered at the hands of his own creation. How does this make any sense? And when he entered into it, Jesus bears the ignominy of being an illegitimate child. This is the God of the universe we're talking about. And then when he comes, he lives as a blue-collar laborer. He could have come into the household of a king. No, he works with his hands in sweat and tears. And he ultimately gets 12 disciples in whom he invests his whole heart, and they betray him, one of them with a kiss. What? And you have to think about the manner in which he came. He comes as a baby born to two children who had just been accused of an illegitimate relationship. Right? God could have come in on chariots and proclaimed himself king and whatever. He could have been administered a lethal injection, whatever. Like he could have done this a lot easier if he wanted to. But he comes in, is born to two children who've been accused of an illegitimate relationship. So his whole life, he's carrying the ignominy of being an illegitimate child. His father is a carpenter, so he has to work with his hands and feet, blood, sweat, and tears in order to make ends meet until he gets to a point where he spends all his time investing in 12 men who he knows are going to betray him. One of them betrays him with a kiss. Another one says, "I will die before I betray you." And they all run away from him at his greatest moment of need.
Go back to the topic and talk
Yes,
about
yes.
practicality. How does it work, secret wife? How are you a provider? How are you a carer? How are you fair? How are you a high-value man? If you are lying, hiding, and asking the second one, how can you accept the situation? I just want to know the facts.
Okay, good. I think we discussed on that.
No woman, even if she accepts origin, and I can tell you, because I know people that have said that, because they put themselves already in a really bad situation, in a fitness situation.
Okay, then get the camera on her. She's speaking.
Because you know, in the beginning, very often, because obviously they're in love, maybe they have like feelings for the person. Very often they have put themselves in a situation that now makes the marriage an obligation.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Second.
La ilaha illallah. Sister Soul, have mercy on us, please.
Definitely.
Look, when your husband gets another wife, you're not dying. Like, you're not going to die. Yeah, you're not going to physically die. Number one. Number two, he's coming back home to you. Number two, he provides for you, he protects. The same man is coming back to you. When I go to war and I die, I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back. So one second.
Ali,
One second. I'm not coming back. You're coming back. I'm coming back home to you. But when you're sharing me, it's another woman. But in the context, when I'm going to war, I ain't coming back, bro. I'm gone. You know what? That's why I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us men about Hur al-Ain, by the way, if you guys know Hur al-Ain, that we're going to have in Jannah, inshallah. But can the man come and say, hold on a second, I am being deprived, and there are studies that show a man's sexual drive, there is no comparison. So this is the reason why we say, but biologically, when I had that discussion with that toxic feminist girl, you guys are vulnerable in an altercation. When it comes to a man, you are biologically weaker. That is your most vulnerable state you're in. You require a man to be there to protect you. A man's most vulnerable state is when it comes to intimacy. And when a man is deprived of that, you are also saying, on top of that, you are not allowed to get married again. You have to shut up and go through whatever I'm going through and put up with it. So it's unfair.
If you were born in a family where the genealogy was broken, where your parents had what was seen as an illegitimate relationship, or if you have bared that your whole life, you don't have that kind of honor that a lot of other people have, or if you have been working with your hands to make ends meet, to get paycheck to paycheck, if you have poured your life into someone who betrayed you after having said that they would be with you till death, if your body is broken and you're saying, God, why me? This is not a God who stands back and judges you in the midst of all that. This is a God who rolls up his sleeves and says, I love you, son. I love you, daughter. And I'm going to walk with you in this. Right next to you. Our God who created the universe, all the stars in the sky, he just thought them into existence. That God is willing to die. And as he tells us that he loves us so much, he's willing to die for us, this is what he says. As I have loved you, so love one another. If the people you've invested yourself in said that they would love you till the day they died, and then they left you in your moment of need, God's been through that. He loves you.